Kathy Vick, deeply awake. It has been super hard to buckle down and do what I need to do tonight. And it's getting late, and I have a big project due tomorrow in the morning. God. But I did a channeling earlier on today. And just when I was cracking my books, I thought, I really should look at that channel again. Because usually I watch them right away. I didn't. And I figured, it's gonna blow. I'm just gonna leave it there. And then I'm starting to study. Yeah, I really, really need to see my work. It blew my mind. It really did. But it brought up some stuff, and I want to talk about that just really briefly. They were talking about protection and their thoughts on protection in the new energy. And holy God, that was quite the talk. But I realized as I was watching it that it may not be understood by everyone. I have to cop to it. I am an energetic creature at heart. I mean, hardcore. And I want to explain what that means. Because I was watching a video and it said, it's something about the energy. And I thought, if somebody was really cynical, they could just say that I'll blame anything on energy. So let's set a few things straight, just for we mere mortals. Because it's important with all of this to remember that I live a very, very normal life. And I establish and maintain friendships and relationships with other people. And I've always had these capacities. I've always been like this. I have a friend who knows me from long ago and asked me, so did you know about, just how sparkly you were back when I knew you, which was a really long time ago? And the truth is that at that time, I was just on the precipice. It was actually going to nursing school that switched things on. It really did. And so things like this is the kind of thing that I've been going through the last few days, but man, it was just intense today. Is sort of a life review, in a way, of and declaring it good. That's what I'm finding. And what I'm finding is it's really hard to hold an argument with anything. I'm really having a hard time with that. I'm really having a hard time with arguing with my reality. With and this morning, I channeled from the time I got in the car until I was at work, and immediately when I got in the car, and during that time, it was like full on something big. It was just, I was holding a lot, and that's what I want to talk about with this channel, is that this may not be understood by everyone, what it is I do and understand and know in my body, and I don't use energetics as an excuse. And I do want to let you know that, when they talk about low consciousness and defensiveness and all that stuff, I've actually, as a human being, what's important to remember is that I cop to having the dark within me. Of course I do. Of course. And so to imagine for 1 minute that, a light worker or whatever, that they putting themselves on a pedestal and declaring themselves perfect. And so it's hypocrisy when they fuck up or whatever, or act bad or whatever. Well, that's a trap. And it really needs to be discussed. Because this thing was about protection, but what are we protecting ourselves against? Well, asshole-ish behavior, basically. And I'm kind of a big asshole sometimes, aren't you? I mean, we all have moments of just acting horribly, and a lot of us think, "Oh, holy crap! I was emotionally incontinent yet again. I gotta go clean up my mess." But what I'm trying to say is that this low consciousness stuff, how do you think I resonate with it so much? It's because I know about it. And it's not just because it's been, demonstrated to me, around me. I think this channel really brought it home that people who are around you are you. They're representations of you. So if you're quarreling with them and picking at them and bitching at them, and you can't stand them and you don't respect them and you think they're assholes, but you still hang out with them, which, I can't even count on both hands how many people I know who are in relationships like that. That's kind of the standard fare around here for, if you listen to the comedy station, if you just look on a Facebook feed and look at like marital humor, if you look at some of the relationships that go on, I don't give a shit if they're state sanctioned or not. Doesn't matter. What matters is in people's homes there's active yelling and screaming or arguing or hating or not getting along with or picking fights with or whatever. And that's something that's absent in my life unless I'm at work. I don't have any tolerance for it. So that, I think that's part of this, what does it mean to be an energetics person? Well, part of it is extreme sensitivity. And that does not mean that, I'm so sensitive that I can't stand anybody. You have to just drop that at the door. You know why? Because I've been a successful RN for 30 years. Do you think that I've taken care of people who think about energy and reincarnation? You think I've dealt with a lot of those people? Well, they weren't there consciously. I can't tell you how many shifts I've worked. 12-hour shifts. And I have not heard one thank you from anyone all night long. Going the extra mile, extra mile, extra mile. And instead, from, the majority of people, I hear just like random, idle complaining. Or specific complaining, but usually just random bitching. That's it. That's humanity. And I'm charged to love them anyway. Get in and love anyway. Lift the burden. In your 2 minutes at the bedside, you lift that burden. You love anyway. Love them anyway. That was my admonition starting in 2012 when I was told, you consider yourself palms out in a defenseless mode with a smile on your face, dressed in a burlap sack. Consider yourself an old friend of all these people, and you're so glad to be in their midst and to greet them in their hour of trouble. Do that. Lift the burden. Lift the burden. Love them. Love them. Love them. So, my feeling has always been, since I think my 30s, because I had a pretty wild late 20s and early 30s. But I got to the place where I realized that, and I've always known if you really want to know who someone is, find out who their friends are. Because you know what that tells you? What they're willing to put up with and what they're not willing to put up with. What they consider normal and what they consider abnormal by looking at their friends. And so, yeah, my friends as a group are a very adaptive and accepting lot, and creative and expressive lot. And the ones that I hold dear are so loving, so kind, so generous, so tender. And so anyway, I think that is really kind of important to explain. So I have a very low tolerance for certain things. I think that it's, in the end, it's called karma. Just, the unending sort of conflicts. No. We'll find a way to resolve this, and then we can play every day. Let's do that. Let's giggle and play and laugh and figure out ways to delight each other. So that's kind of what my son and I do. We just go day to day and just it's pretty cool. And so that's kind of how I do things. So so when I'm involved in conflict and difficulty, it's really not name calling though to say that I do want to clarify. So it's not name calling to call someone their behavior dysfunctional. Let me make it very plain as a psych nurse. The human being is a human being. The behavior is different. The behavior changes and morphs. The behavior is allowed to change. It is not the signature of the human being. The human being is not the behavior. Got it? Okay. Now, try to really remember that when you have a human being who's like screaming at you and their face is red and they're calling you bad, nasty names. As a psych nurse, that's happened more than once. It's really easy then. I mean, when they get really over the top, it's really easy to say, yeah, well, you're having a super bad day. Let me see what I can do about that. The seclusion room is that way. Come with me. Anyway, that's psych. You don't have seclusion rooms and restraints in real life. And you don't usually have, but even so, if you have someone who goes, and they're just crazy, that's easy. That's easy. That's somebody who's completely out of control. They're easy to shut down. It's the passive ones. It's the sneaky ones. It's the ones who just like to put the knife in and twist. And they have very subtle ways of expressing how right they are and how wrong you are. Just in, I don't know, your beingness. And they don't even know they're doing it. Because it's just so part of them that, they need to make other people inferior because they feel inferior, la la la. Whatever. It gets so old because it's so hard to crack. It's usually a very rigid system and it's very fearful. It's slow going. But the only thing, and really what I'm talking about is healing. And I am a nurse, so I deal really with relationship. Yeah, sure, with, potions and crap. But in the modality I have, it's really about relationship. Oh, isn't it in business? They always say that. It's not about product, it's about relationship. It's true. It's true. And that's why, hells yeah, I can hang with anybody. You better believe it. And you'd be surprised who I'm the most comfortable with. Or maybe you wouldn't. But it's the people who are real and honest and raw and they're the most fun for me. Because then I can just, let loose. But I'm realizing there are so many variations. Everyone is so different. And isn't that sort of the point? And so I'm getting to this place here where I'm thinking, there's 7 billion people on this earth. Why, in God's name, when I decide to have the ones who I've say, hey, yeah, this is a really good idea, come on over and be my friend over here, and then complain about them and to them about them, and I have been an active person in that. Really, I have. And I'm realizing, wow, that's to close. I really want to talk about this yes and no thing. So yeah, I've really figured out that I have been a bit of an asshole. So can I say that I'm like super great and full of light and I'm a geyser of beauty? Well, not really. I mean, as a human being, I've done some pretty nasty ass shit. And if you want to go back lifetimes, I did one. I was just one of the meanest people I've ever encountered in my life. I'm still sorry, Mary. Oh man, I was mean to her. And I was just horrible. And, so yeah, I contain the dark and the light too. And I'm more than capable of engaging in something that I don't agree with and then battering it. So when I talk about healing, I'm in situations sometimes, long-term, sometimes, one shift. And the person has an identified need. And so there's something that needs, to be treated. And so there I go. And it may be a shift where I've got, 7 or 8 patients. Or 30. Or 1. But I'm going to be dealing with them, and and they're not quite right. I mean, nobody who's got, whatever's going on isn't quite right. So they get a pass within reason. That's how I've spent my life. Being around people who are not quite right, who need something from me. And I can give it, and nobody else around here knows how to do what I do, so here we go. Yeah, that's been me. And it's funny how it's really not something that I argue with anymore. Imagine such a thing. And this idea of, you are the people that you're around. It's very hard to mount and sustain a lot of arguments with those I draw and hold near. And I see now how argumentative I was, but I needed the argument. I just needed it. I needed what the argument contained. And the argument was just part of the package. There's a lot more to packages, but I've been so awful at times. But I come to and realize, okay, well, yeah, I did that wrong. Yeah, I did that. And it's I'm beginning to realize, yeah, it's about being skilled or unskilled. And I'm really seeing my unskilled behavior, and I'm seeing and appreciating my skilled behavior. So to close, I really wanted to close with the yes-no thing. I was driving down the highway. It's been coming through a lot, last month or so. Longer, really. But it's more intense now. How absolutely grateful I am at times to have been able to say no and have it be dealt with gracefully. I just, thank you. And I'm sometimes very, 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 not sometimes, grateful for having said no. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm just, shit, I missed the boat, damn it. I didn't do that right. Oh, I should have been there. That kind of thing. That happens sometimes. Sometimes you miss the boat. Oh well, live and learn. It'll come around again. But there's this idea that Well, I think I've said enough. The yes and no thing, when I say no, and it's dealt with in a way that isn't shaming and isn't whatever, I'm so relieved. And if it's a hard thing to hear, then I do get, if it's not handled gracefully, why wouldn't it be? Why would it be? Why would it be? But the idea here is, I think, to hear yes and hear no with grace and ease. Think about the times you've had to say no, and how grateful you are for that. That it just was the right thing, Maybe it was, and think about dating situations where you meet somebody and you go on a couple dates and it's like, this isn't working out, and it's and you realize that each person contains a galaxy, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to continue to hang with acquaintances or friends who you really know it doesn't feel good, but you're getting something from them, and that's good. Maybe it's sex, maybe it's the conversation, maybe it's whatever, but it just doesn't. It's just it's not right. No, it's not right, but there's something good about it, and it's better than being alone. Well, there you go. Guess what? You can make that choice, and then you can argue for the next how long you want to do it. How long would that be? Years? Months? Days? It depends. I know a lot of people who do this. It's kind of that whole weird dating mentality, but I see it in business world too. Oh, that's my cat. So something to think about. I see it with employers. They get an employee, and then the employee does one thing wrong, and then it's like, we're going to put you on, or maybe 2 or 3 things, okay. But they learn more about their employee, and then pick at the employee. It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? You pick this because you pick this person and decide to date them or whatever, and you really kind of, it might be, in your opinion, kind of cringeworthy, but you're getting something off of it, and it's feeding it, so you go along with it. So my response to this whole scenario is, please say no. Thank you. Say it up front. Thank you. Because I don't want to do that hinterland. Maybe I like you, maybe that part of that's just dating, right? Part of that's just the 90-day probationary period. But I think that, and we get to know friends too. Isn't it funny how with friends it just sort of, I don't know, it just seems kind of like velvet. I seem to just, it's just when my tribe comes together, I guess, because I'm very particular about my friends. Very, 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 very particular. I don't hang with just anyone. I just can't. I don't want noise. I can't do noise. So, isn't that a no? It's a no. Thank God I can say no. So, if I think saying no is a good thing, what do I have to be really good at? Hearing no. Some people are really crappy at it. They blow at saying no. So they, bluster and blah blah, or they make you sign forms to certify how much of a asshole you are at work, to certify that the games can begin and they can isolate and target you. Let the games begin. Sign your name. Yeah. Have you had that happen to you? I don't know. I have. Maybe I'm not a very good employee. I'm not really sure. I don't think I was a very good employee at times. How could I have been? I have no respect for authority. Oops, sorry about that. Anyway, being able to say yes and being able to say no. I mean, this is what they reminded me on the way home. That's what they were telling me on the dance floor on New Year's Eve. I'm going to read that piece again. This is the year of actually getting some of the things I want. How do you do that? You have to ask for it, dear. You think it's just going to float on a platter to you? Well, it has been, but still, you have to make an effort. And then you have to use your discernment. What does all this involve? Well, it involves opening your mouth and speaking your preferences. And it involves, they said back then, getting rejected. This is the year when you're going to get rejected. So it is second nature and it doesn't bother you. And actually, that's what's happened. They can't see you, Sam, but I'm still recording. I will. So that's what's happened. And it really isn't a big deal. In fact, it's a blessing. And so I was driving home, they were channeling about this yes and no thing, and that they keep showing me a train and a switch, and that yes and no is the train switch. So you can go one way or the other. And it's how reality works. And it's really, really important to honor your yeses and your nos, and to really be okay with them. Because, and if you fucked up, then expect a do-over. Because there are times when you have made an agreement to be part of a group, or I don't know, to have an experience, okay? And maybe you read the signs wrong. You know in your heart you should go, but you avoid it for whatever reason. You know you need to call a person that you interviewed with. You know the job, you can really feel the job's available, and you don't do it. Well, the job was available. And so you can actually miss opportunities through, the resistance of intuition. But when that happens, you've missed a reality when that happens. Whether it's a person or a job or a choice. So, big effing deal. Here's the deal. Whatever that job contained, or that relationship contained, or that event contained, was important enough to you that you were hooked to it with your intuition. So you think it's going to go away? No. That's not how reality works. It's not how reality construction works. That's a reality. That's a possibility. Now, that particular outcome and all that is gone. Just consider it part. It's just, when you're 70 years old, are there some things that you're probably not going to do again? Yeah, that's part of the aging process, is realizing that, anything's possible when you're 20. And then you make choices. And then enjoy. So, or you keep making choices, one of the two. But choices, actually. And lots of yeses and lots of nos. So this was to be the year to get used to rejection, getting used to saying yes and saying no, and really not having it be a big deal when somebody exercises their free will. Imagine such a thing. And that's really part of this whole thing, is what you say yes to, what you say no to. But to end, really to end. I guess no is important. But this idea of being, if you're a light worker, you understand about holding light in dark places and being sent to dark places, or being, in the weave. And the fear, I think, always is that, well, that dark has infected me, and I am that dark, and la la. Well, yeah, you've soaked some up, sure. Everybody has dark and light in them. But the patterns that you've learned through the years that are based from trauma, or from trying to understand trauma, or whatever, just the dorky behavior that passes as human behavior at times, that's just low. You can just know. It's just obvious that it's just very low consciousness. Bickering and just bitchiness and just whatever. They're lost. Whatever. I mean, it's fine. And they're just really great at saying these are people who are in pain. And I can say whatever because you'd think I haven't been there this lifetime? Huh. Well, you didn't know me at certain periods in my life, which were quite dark. Quite dark. So we all have dark, we all have light. And there's no enemy. This is the message today. There's no enemy. And there's no harm that can come to you. It's just protect against what? Because it's been 2 days now where this has been the message. What, you think that having access or having to deal with whatever is going to really impact you in the least? Why would you think that someone else's dysfunction can hurt you? What the hell? And that's like, wow. Wow. You're right. So what am I here for? I'm here to love them anyway. It's a humbling experience. Because I do believe when I act bad, I'm immediately, I'm still mortified at some of the things I've done. This sense of mortification. I always pray, okay, when the mortification has cooled, then I can handle that kind of situation again. But wow, yeah, there are some things that I'm just, that was a disaster. That was more than unskilled. That was just a disaster. Well, okay, so what? If it had my name on it, it'll still have my name on it. And maybe next time, I will make different decisions in the moment. I'll behave differently. Why? Well, you think maybe I might be having some different feelings about things. A little bit more relaxed. A little bit more okay with everybody just being themselves, including me. So much more relaxed and funny and just, it really is a kind of a, yeah, dude, whatever kind of thing. Pick your battles. Decide what you're going to get your undies in a bunch about, but make sure it's pretty big around me, okay? Let's just do that. Because they're really, we can spend our time menacing each other, or we can spend our time being kind to one another. And being kind to one another feels better. And you start mirroring that, remembering it, and loving. My, how things change. So, it's an interesting time. And I think that yes and no. It's a good thing to have been able to figure out how to say. With grace. It was good to figure out how to hear it. And how to feel grateful. Grateful. For a no. Understanding now, fundamentally, that it's better. It's better to hear no than to hear a yes that is untrue. And it is clear that the sensitivity is such that true and untrue become much more obvious. It's just a funny thing. So today I felt all day like this, the visuals of just this big chubby white flame. It was bubbling with bubbles, and it was joyful and stable. And it was weird. It was like there was no darkness. It was just, there was none. There hasn't been all day long. And yeah, it might come tomorrow. I guess I've got it in me, right? But it's so good to get to the place where I can not only visualize it, but understand it first. Be able to remember it in the moment. And then to breathe it in and live it in difficult situations. It feels really good. And so I think it's best to end here, to say thank you for watching. I'm very, very grateful for that. Understanding that there are times when all I want to do is take them all down, because I don't want anybody to see how little I understood. I feel that way about my essays sometimes too. Not anymore. But when it's fresh, that's how I normally feel. Oh man, that's so dumb. I didn't figure that. Well, the whole point is to talk about it so I understand it. That's kind of how it works. And if it's not speaking, it's writing, or it's just thinking. But it's ongoing, and I'm ever so grateful for that. I hope that this finds you well and happy. I hope that you enjoyed it too. All right. Namaste.